Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and today's shout out goes to Dennis54. Dennis54 was first to say first in one of my recent videos, and this one's a shout out, so congratulations.
Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and welcome to beautiful Pleasant Ridge Park for the test flight of the D460. Now, I'm doing something different today, folks. I'm presenting the demonstration flight first before I do the tabletop review. The reason being, the tabletop review is kind of long for this. I go over all the changes of this particular aircraft as compared to the original Fly Zone Eraze, which this is a follow-on to, an upgraded version of. So that's why we're here first, folks. Okay. To arm this, I'm going to move it from the unarmed to armed position. So now I got motor movement on this, and also I'm checking the stabilization system. It seems to be working, so we should be ready to go. Now to launch this, see these two holders here and this holder here? Put your thumb and your middle finger there and your index finger there, and that's how you launch it, okay? Let me test the power of this. It should be good to go. I'm going to give it a power up and toss. So here we go. Okay. So let me give you my thoughts. We're going to start off in low rate here in stabilized mode. Wow. Zippy little thing. I want to keep it down. Let's bring it down lower. Lower. And slower. Lower and slower. I want to see its stall speed. Can it stall? Actually, no. That's its big lifting body here. It can fly very slowly around me. Very, very slowly around me. So yeah, you know, for a beginner pilot, this may be able to fly this particular bird in beginner rate. Let's see how, I want to see what it can do. Going straight up, it can go straight up in beginner rate in fully stabilized mode. Okay, let's see it glide. Can it glide? It's gliding, folks. Okay, applying power. So this thing does like to fly. Going straight up again. So the pitch angle on this in low rate mode is extreme. You know, the angle restriction is like 80 degrees nose up. I don't know if it's the same for nose down, but nose up it is. Let's try and show you that. Let's bring it around. Let's get it in closer. I want to do that up close. And pitch straight up. And then gliding it back down again. Glide, 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 glide. Glides nicely. Okay, let's go up higher and go to intermediate rate. Okay, flying with gyros. It does loops nicely. Went back in again. Coming around. Cool airplane. Now, it's porpoising there a bit. I'm having to give it a little bit of up rudder or up control. So let me come around here and maybe move that center of gravity back. Let's land it. Because I have to be I'm giving it some upward movement to keep it in the air. So we need to move it back a little bit. That center of gravity. And since this is held in place by Velcro, it's very easy to do. Let's move the battery back to the back. See if that helps improve the stability of the airplane. Reduce that up and down what I was doing there, you know, because I kept having to give it some elevator there. So let's see if that corrects it. Adjusting the center of gravity. Okay. I got to get these wires out of the way. That one in particular, since I moved it. There we go. That's better. Okay, make sure I'm back and stabilized. And motor's still armed. Motor's still armed. Wind is coming from this direction now. Okay. Coming around. Letting go. The stick is still going down. So what I'm going to do is give it some upward trim. That helped it a bit. More upward trim. There we go. So now it should be better, more stable, without me having to constantly give it upward on the stick, on the pitch stick. Okay, look at that thing, how slow it can fly. Let's go back up in the air again. Center position. Okay, this is gyro. Gyro. Looping it in gyro mode. Rolling it. Coming around. It is nice and very responsive. Back to gyro mode. I'm in gyro. Coming around. And then I want to bring it in low. And just flying around low and slow. It's a fun plane. Very, very easy to fly in beginner mode. I keep trying to apply rudder to it. There's no rudder. I can't keep forgetting tell myself there's no rudder on this particular airplane. It's just simply Elevons control. Very quiet too. I gotta watch these soccer goals. I want to smack into them. Look how slow this thing goes. Okay, let's go back to gyro. And going up higher. The wind's picking up a bit. But that gyro's holding it relatively stable. Doing rolls. And a loop. Flying nicely in gyro mode. Barrel rolls. Oh, I think our battery's getting low, so we're going to find out what the battery time is on this. You heard that battery going beep, beep, beep. That's the RSSI warning us that we're starting to get low. So for the remainder of the flight, let's keep it in close so you can see it. Again, I'm going to have a real detailed explanation of this aircraft following this flight. We'll go over it. All the changes. You know, this is an upgrade to an airplane that was released 11 years ago, back in 2013. The Fly Zone Eraze. And it has been updated quite a bit with a flight control board, with gyro stabilization. The Eraze did not have that. And improved receiver. And this transmitter too. So it has 2-kilometer range. Whether you need 2-kilometer range, I don't know. That's debatable. I haven't flown it more than 80 meters away. So, you know, it's more or less a fun plane. Just to take her out and toss around your local park like I'm doing right now. Although I'm sure some people might want to put FPV camera on this and go try that 2-kilometer range on it. Good for them if they do, but you know, that's not entirely legal, folks, especially here in the US. Okay, it's not beeping anymore. I don't know why. So let's go back up again then. Going back to gyro mode. Huh. Beep, beep, beep. That might be RSSI warning. Or maybe not. Okay, I'm gliding. Look at that thing glide into the wind. There's a wind in that direction. Okay, powering back up again. Fun plane. Interesting plane. The flying wings. Flying wings are always interesting. Elevon controls. You know, I was hoping to demonstrate this with multi-protocol transmitter, but the last time I did a flying wing, I had a hell of a time setting up the Elevon controls on my multi-protocol transmitter, so I gave up. Since this one's ready to fly, I'm just going to use this for today's demonstration flight. Let's go straight up again. Oh, this thing's got a lot of power. A lot of power. It goes straight up and glides back down again. So yeah, that's very efficient winglets on this thing. Very efficient lifting body. Okay, well, I'll go back up again. Back to gyro mode. Every time I go to gyro, it makes those beeping noises. It scares me. I don't want to lose control. Is it RSSI or is it low battery warning? I think it might be RSSI. Maybe that 2-kilometer range is not true. Oh, that has to have been battery. I'm probably getting close to battery. I'm applying power to make a hard turn. See the banking turns this thing can make. Cool plane. Beep, 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 beep. Yeah, I'm just going to ignore it until it's constant beeping. And gyro mode. Back to beginner mode. Okay, that's got to be low battery warning. It's repeating. It stopped repeating. Well, we're going to call that low battery warning. That's got to be the RSSI, or low battery warning, LVC warning. But then so we'll call quits now, folks. I don't want to kill the battery. So bringing it in, bringing it in, bringing it in, and plop it. So my thoughts here, let me disarm this thing all the way forward, or no, all the way back, so I'm safe. Oh no, really easy to fly plane. A lot of lifting ability on this thing. Can fly almost 90 degrees in beginner's mode. And when you want to go straight up, it does. It does loops and rolls quite nicely in gyro mode. I did not go to manual mode. There's a breeze today, a little bit of a breeze. But the gyro stabilization works real well on this in preventing it being buffeted in the wind. So overall, nice airplane. I like it. So hope you enjoyed this flight. So stick around, folks. There'll be, again, I'll be going over the details of the innards of this thing here for those of you that are interested. So hope you enjoyed the flight. Quadcopter 101, signing out. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here with a review of a neat new airplane, the RADIOLINK D460 3-channel, ready to fly, flying wing. Now, before we go into this comes in a really nice box, folks, and I want to say this right away. Do not throw away this box and its container, okay? This airplane breaks down very easily to a nice flat surface and is easily put back into its box. Use its box for protection, for storage, and for transportation of this aircraft. It's really easy to put it back in the box is what I'm saying, so don't throw away the box. Okay, but looking at this airplane, you can see right away it is a flying wing, and this actual airframe has been around for a while. It's an 11-year-old model The airframe itself, called the, what was it called? The Flyzone Eraze, Eraze, E-R-A-Z-E, from Flyzone. From back in 2013, this first came out. However, this has been greatly upgraded by RADIOLINK and re-released under the RADIOLINK brand now with new features. And we'll go over them as I do this review here. Now, it's a 460 millimeter wingspan aircraft. Weighs only 179 grams with the battery installed. That means this does not require registration or remote ID in most countries. And actually, probably in all countries. Okay, there's no camera on this thing either, so that's why. Now, it's constructed of crash-resistant EPP foam throughout most of the aircraft, so it should be able to take a beating, especially if you're flying in grassy fields, like I always recommend. So it should be able to take a crash. Now, it's 3-channel controls. Now, when I mean 3-channel for this particular aircraft, what I'm saying in this case, you have throttle control of the motor, along with elevator and aileron control through Elevons. These are called Elevons, folks, in the back here. They provide both elevator control up, down, and aileron control for rotating the aircraft. And let's see, other things about it. The Elevons are controlled by 2 belly servos in the belly here installed, and they have these little skids here to protect them, and because this thing does not have landing gears, folks, and you're going to be landing on the belly. You're going to need to provide some protection, particularly to these surfaces here. I'm worried about this thing back here catching on things, but these do provide some minimal protection for the micro servos in the belly here. Now, let's talk about the vertical stabilizer. It does have a vertical stabilizer that's held in place by magnets. Goes on and off very easily, but there is no rudder control on this. It's just a vertical stabilizer only. Other things that it has on it, it has winglets. If you notice these things on the end here, these are called winglets on the wingtips. What these do, folks, is prevent vortices. What that is lower pressure airflow prevents or reduces the amount of lower airflow from the bottom slipping over to the top of the wing. And what that does is create vortices behind the aircraft and increases the overall drag if this wasn't there. So this reduces drag is what these are meant to do, and improve the flight efficiency of the lifting body of the aircraft. And it does that relatively well. Now, let's think other things about it. It has Gemfan propellers on it. It comes with a Gemfan 7052 propeller, and it's held in place by this little rubber band there. It's an O-ring. Holds it there. And the idea is, in a crash, it will protect the propeller by bending it like so. Okay, so it doesn't break in half. And I guess that's a good idea. In most cases, that should protect this propeller. Although you do get a spare propeller if you do damage this particular propeller. Now let's talk about the motor that's powering it. It's powered by a 2204 1600 kV brushless motor, so we do have brushless power on this. And now let's go into the real nitty-gritty of this aircraft. What has changed, the big things that have changed between this aircraft and the Eraze, and that is under the hood here, under the canopy. Notice that the canopy is easily removed, held in place by magnets, easily put back in place and removed. But looking under the hood, let's see what we got here. First off, let's take the battery. I'll talk about the battery here shortly, a little bit later. Tangled up there. But what we have underneath here is, first off, we have the RADIOLINK R8. I'm looking in the wrong direction here. I got to pick this one up here. Okay, under that area there, we have the RADIOLINK R8 XM long-range micro FHSS receiver. Now, this receiver is compatible with the RADIOLINK T8 FB receiver or transmitter and the T8S transmitter, which is what I got here. It's also compatible with multi-protocol transmitters using the RADIOLINK air setting. Now, I'm not going to be setting mine up with this because this is Elevon controlled, and it gets a little finicky, a little bit involved setting up an Elevon controlled flying wing, and I haven't done that yet with my multi-protocol transmitter, so I'm not going to do that for this particular aircraft. I'm going to stick with this, which is already set and ready to go. But this receiver also has capability of telemetry, particularly for RSSI, relative signal strength indicator, RSSI. It lets you know when the signal is getting weak on reception signal is getting weak on this. But this receiver supposedly has 2 kilometer range, along with the transmitter has 2 kilometer range. So that shouldn't be a problem, because you're not going to be able to see this out of 2 kilometers. So that's not a big deal with that. But it does have telemetry of LVC, low voltage control, or low voltage on the battery. So that is a good indicator. And I'm assuming that's through beeping of the T8S transmitter here. I haven't checked it yet to see if this actually beeps, but I'm pretty sure it does, because it says it has telemetry. So we'll find out when we go flying in the field. Other things that this has, and this is another big change from the Eraze, is that it has this flight control board with built-in gyro and accelerometer stabilization. Now this is the BIME DB flight control board. Again, it has 6-axis gyro and accelerometer stabilization. Okay, let's talk about the flight control modes this has. Now this has 3 selectable flight control modes that are controlled through the transmitter, set through the transmitter. These include fully stabilized flight control mode. And what that does, folks, is in fully stabilized flight control mode, it prevents the aircraft from rolling a certain amount of degrees, probably around 30, I think it's usually around 30 degrees, along with pitch angle restrictions of about plus or minus 30 degrees. And what that means is that prevents the aircraft from flipping over in flight. Also, if it does get into trouble, say you stall it or it starts heading to the ground and you can't control it, in fully stabilized mode, just let go of the control sticks, particularly the right control sticks, and this will automatically level itself, automatically and quickly level itself. So that makes this appropriate for beginner flyers to give it a try and fly it. It makes it easier to fly for beginners. Now, the other flight control mode that this has is gyro stabilized, strictly gyro stabilized. And what that means is, if you get wind gusts, you're flying it with wind gusts, this will counter those wind gusts. The gyro will sense the movement of the aircraft and prevent the wind gusts from tossing it around or flipping it over. However, it does not have auto stabilization. If you let go, if you give it a certain amount of roll, it will not return to stabilized flat position if you let go of the stick. So it's kind of semi-manual control when you're putting it into just gyro stabilized. And finally, the third flight control for this is full manual control, and that turns off stabilization completely. That turns off auto leveling. It turns off the angle restrictions. So it's pure manual flying, just like the original Fly Zone Eraze. Let me put this back in here. Now let's go over other things that's different on this. This now has a 15 amp ESC for the brushless motor. I think the original was 10 to 12 amps on the original Eraze. However, I don't know if you can put a higher than 2S battery in this. They don't mention putting a 3S in this particular aircraft, so I'm not going to delve into that right for this particular review. I haven't seen anybody try 3S with this yet, so let's keep that in mind too, folks. So, okay, other things about it. Let's put that canopy back on. Oh, I haven't talked about the battery yet. Okay, now this comes with 2 7.4 volt 800 milliampere hour batteries. Now I expect that to give you about, I'm guessing about 10 minutes flight time. They don't actually say how much flight time you're going to get out of this, but 800 milliampere, I'm going to guess about 8 to 10 minutes for this particular aircraft with that brushless motor. Again, we'll find out when we take that out into the field and fly it. So now let's put this back in. Now notice it also comes with Velcro, and I recommend you put your Velcro on your battery and on the base of this, because you don't want batteries flopping around, especially with a gyro stabilized aircraft. They have to be held in place. Now when I go flying, I'm going to try putting the battery, I'm just going to put it all the way forward is what I'm going to do for the first flight. And that's the reason I'm doing that, folks, is the original Eraze, the center of gravity was around where these 2 little magnets are, and to get that center of gravity there, you should put as much weight as far forward as possible. And I'm going to try that, but if I do a lot of nose-ins, I'm going to move the battery back when we go out into the field. So let's keep that in mind too, folks, when we go flying this particular aircraft. So let's put the hood back on the airplane. Now, let's talk about the controller. I haven't spoken about the controller yet. This is the T8S 2 kilometer range transmitter. controller. This aircraft also has had a version of the T8 F8 receiver. However, I haven't seen that for sale lately, so I don't know if they still offer that, but now they're offering the T8S with this particular aircraft, and we'll talk about the T8S. It's a very simple controller, a little game style controller. It does have a scroll wheel on it, and it has a control function button on it, but these two are not used for this particular aircraft. The only thing that's used for this aircraft are these two switches up here. Now, this all the way forward like this is disarmed for the motors. This arms and disarms the motor, this particular switch there. All the way back like that means the motor is disarmed, so you can plug it in. You want to put it there when you're plugging the battery in to prevent yourself from getting hurt. And then when you move it forward like so, that arms the motors, and now moving the throttle, also in the center position too. Moving the throttle will activate the motors. So keep that at startup. And this particular button here controls the 3 different flight modes that we got. All the way forward like that puts it in fully stabilized mode. Center position that puts it in gyro mode. And all the way back like that puts it in full manual mode. And so if you get into trouble in full manual mode, you can keep your finger there and flip it back into fully stabilized to save yourself from crashing. So that's what that does there. Of course, these are throttle, yaw, and now notice this does not have a rudder on it, so this is inoperative with this particular aircraft using yaw, but it does have pitch and roll control on through the right sticks. Other buttons on it, we have yaw trim, which is inoperative for this aircraft. We have throttle trim, and we have pitch trim and roll trim, and finally on-off switch for the controller itself. Now this also has telemetry. You heard that beeping when I turned it on for relative signal strength indicator, RSSI. If this aircraft gets too far away that it's not receiving the signal from the transmitter starts getting weak, the aircraft warns you and sends a signal back to this, and this will start beeping, telling you to bring the aircraft closer in. Also in low battery, this will also start beeping, so also bring it back in and land it on when you start hearing beeping from this particular transmitter. So that's the D8 or D460. Let's go over what you get in the package real quick. First off, you get the instructional manual for both the controller and for the aircraft. Really well written instruction manuals. I recommend reading it in its entirety. I forgot to mention that this controller also you can modify the parameters of this controller using an app. What was the name of that app? I wrote it down here. The RADIOLINK Assistant phone app, available on Apple App Store. But for the Android, you're going to need to download it directly from RADIOLINK. It's included. The link is included in the controller user manual where to get that particular app for your phone to adjust the parameters of this. Other things about that you get in the package, you get this. You get a spare propeller along with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 O-rings for changing the propeller. So you get a spare Gemfan propeller. You get a second battery. Now this battery here is a 7.4 volt 800 milliampere hour battery. Size is 68 30 48, which means 6.5 millimeters thickness. Since it's 2S, that means 12 times 2, it's 13 millimeters thickness, 30 millimeters width, and 48 millimeters length if you want to get additional batteries of the same size. Other things you get in a package, you get a centering spring and centering grommet here for the controller if you want to modify this to make the center position of the throttle. You can do such. That would only be used for helicopter control. That would only be used for helicopter control, but in this case, this is not really needed. Other things you get in the package, you get a USB cable for charging the controller. It has a built-in battery, so you can use this to charge the controller, and also connect this to your computer if you want to modify the parameters of the controller using your computer instead of using the app. And final thing you get in the package is the charger for the battery, the USB charger for the battery, and for a 2S battery, I use a different type of charger, but if you want to use USB, you can. I recommend using a good wall or 2 amp wall charger if you do use this with your particular with your battery, because this is somewhat of a big battery and could take a long time if you tried to charge that separately, just using your phone or using the USB port on your computer. It would take a long time to charge that. So that's the D460. That's what you get in the package. Hi, Quadcopter 101 here again. Hey, if you want to get your own shout out in one of my future videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's real simple. Just go to my channel page and click on that subscribe. And also make sure to click that bell button right next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified when I release a brand new video immediately and give you a chance to get that first shout out. So give it a try, folks.